In today's episode, I want to talk about an important spiritual truth that in our culture we are really good at ignoring and forgetting. Stay tuned. Hello, friends. Pastor Tim Westermeyer here, Senior Pastor of St. Philip Deacon in the western suburbs of Minneapolis. Good to be with you as always. We are taping this on July 22nd. I believe it will be published on July 24th. And there are a few things in the last few days that have gotten me thinking about, let's call it, getting us away from the present moment, having us think about the past or the future. Okay, so for example, I was watching the news the other day, and there was a story about, we're a little over halfway through the year, and so now's a good time to reflect on your New Year's resolutions and how you're doing, and probably, by the way, failing on all of them. And now you've got a half year or less than a half year to figure it out in the next 5 months. So that story was sort of both focused on the past and the future. Also, in a meeting I had this year, this thing called Christmas in July came up. Honestly, I don't really know what that is. I'm assuming it has something to do with July 24th being 5 months away from Christmas Eve, which again, the sort of thought is, well, don't be in the present, but focus on the future. And then I can't remember if I've talked about this in the past or not, but sort of an occupational hazard for pastors, I think, and this may be true for other occupations as well, is precisely sort of always needing to live a little bit out ahead of where we are currently. So, right now as a staff, we're sort of already thinking about the fall, the start of the fall. We're working on the winter issue of our quarterly magazine, so we're sort of scheduling and doing interviews for that and writing some of the stuff for that. So again, that gets you away from the present moment and focused on the future, all of which, by focusing on the past or the future, isn't particularly good for us spiritually. And that's the basic point I want to make. And by the way, I'm preaching to myself here as much as to anyone else. So I'm reminded of a few quotes. I'll read a couple from one of my favorite authors, but I'm also reminded of one which a good friend of mine, Kevin Ward, he's the executive director of Interfaith Outreach, which is a nonprofit that St. Philip Deacon has partnered with for many, many years. I don't think it's his, but I was at an event recently where he brought it up again, and I really like it. Is the quote he reminded me of, and I've heard him say this in other places, is "Be where your feet are," which is a way of saying be present here and now. Don't be worrying about the past, which you can't change, and don't be fretting about the future, which you also can't do anything about. Pay attention to what God is doing in your life right now, in the present moment. And that idea of being present got me thinking of one of my favorite authors, Frederick Buechner. I've used quotes from him a lot. The honest truth is I can't find the specific quote I thought I was looking for, and no doubt I'll find it after we're done taping, and that's fine. But there are a couple of adjacent quotes that get at the same point, and it's a big theme of his, just sort of both paying attention and being present, which are sort of two sides of the same coin, I think. So I'll read this as a kind of benediction for us today, or reminder for us of how important it is, and maybe how difficult it can be to not be distracted by the past or the future, but to be present to the here and now, okay? So the first one comes from a book of his called Now and Then, a memoir of vocation. And I'm going to move quickly into the second one, which comes from, I think it's an essay called The Remarkable Ordinary, How to Stop, Look, and Listen to Life, which I'm going to read from my phone, so I can't hold it up. Anyway, so this is, again, Frederick Buechner, one of my favorites. We did an episode a while ago, I think, about his death, which has already been at least a couple, 3 years ago, as I recall. Maybe we'll link to that as well. Anyway, so this first one from Frederick Buechner from the book Now and Then. He says, "If I were called upon to state in a few words the essence of everything I was trying to say, both as a novelist and a preacher, it would be something like this: listen to your life. See it for the fathomless mystery that it is, in the boredom and pain of it, no less than in the excitement and gladness. Touch, taste, smell your way to the holy and hidden heart of it. And in order to do that, you have to be what? Present, right? All of those are tactile or they're sensory things which we're experiencing in the here and now. So touch, taste, smell your way to the holy and hidden heart of it, because in the last analysis, all moments, including now, all moments are key moments, and life itself is grace. Beautiful. And then this other passage, again, also Frederick Buechner. It seems to me almost before the Bible says anything else, it is saying that how important it is to be alive, and here's that phrase again, to pay attention to being alive. Pay attention to each other. Pay attention to God as he moves and as he speaks. Pay attention to where life or God has tried to take you. So today, I pray, I guess, that you can be where your feet are. I pray you can pay attention to the moment you find yourself in right now, trusting that God is with you and that God is using you to reach other people as well. Thanks as always for being with me. Be well, stay in touch, and God bless.